Cultural values and traditions play a huge role in our lives. Many times we don't realize, for example, in terms of gender roles, we grew up with it. Expectations, explicit, implicit, we don't know, but it's passed down to us. It's reflected by daily life. Growing up, I recall being told girls are not good at math or physics, and your early advantage would lose out when you enter middle school or high school. Every time I recall, I had to fight that perception and basically show them that I can do well and other girls can do well too. That is something that you may not be aware at the time, the values, expectations, tradition, but has a long-lasting impact on you. This has been a fascinating discussion in the society, I think both in China and worldwide. To me, we have to view every individual, every human being as a whole, right? It's not women would be feminine. Some men have the so-called feminine qualities, which are great. At the same time, if we stereotype women to be a certain way, men also suffer. They don't dare to be soft, so-called, or caring, or to be considerate, or to do certain things they enjoy doing, such as being artistic. So I think this is a larger challenge to our perception about who we are as human beings. Everybody has different characteristics, preferences, qualities, and we have to celebrate the whole package. I think the two realities you cited, both are true. One is the rising representation of female leaders, especially in the private sector in China, who are becoming role models, leaders, and inspirations to the younger generation of female professionals. At the same time, discrimination is real. Gender-based discrimination in this case is real. Many women, including the leaders, also experienced it and are still experiencing it. So if we face both realities and say, where do we go from these realities, I think that should be our starting point. On the one hand, we have more hope, more inspirations, more role models to look up to, and who are having a louder voice in encouraging more girls and women to step up. At the same time, we have to be aware of the barriers, the challenges, both explicit and implicit, that still faces all women. And then say, how can we work to address them? I think that work or effort should come from the whole society, both women and men. We need women to be more aware and to be more brave to challenge those barriers, but we need men to be also aware and to be brave to speak up for women and for themselves, so that, because they want to celebrate women as well. My colleagues and I have a new piece of research. So we use time use data collected in China, 25 provinces, that have every respondent track their time use, daily time use on a typical workday and non-work day. That include both men and women. So in our research, we limit the sample to couples only. Right? We are excluding a big chunk of the population, but our interest was to compare and contrast how the husband and wife spend time. What we found unfortunately, it's not surprising that men still devote more time to work activities and leisure activities. Women still devote a lot more time to household chores, family caring responsibilities. One interesting finding is that as the women's education level gets higher, especially if the women or the wife's education level is higher than the husband's, they have more bargaining power. They could devote more time to work and social and leisure activities, less time to family care and household chores, but not to eliminate the gap. So there's still a lot more to be done. And we also see the power of education in this case. I think China has a long way to go in pursuing gender equality. We can learn from other countries, we can learn from our own past. In the past, I would say 20 years, we see some good developments, role models, but we also see some regression in gender inequality, both from role expectations, traditions, and also lack of social policy. Many women still have to shoulder the family care responsibility, and the workplace social policies do not give them enough support or do not ask men for the same level of devotion and contribution to family life. So I think that aspect we need to learn and absorb, that we need policy level changes. We also need the political will and leadership. Right now in China, the main political leaders are all men. There are a few women at the very top, but very few compared to the countries who are doing better. Some countries are more determined to address this question head on. For example, the Prime Minister of Canada decided that half of the government should be women. And that is a gigantic step. Is China ready to take that step? Probably not, but are we reasonable to raise that question? I think yes. Chinese women work very hard, are smart, and have a huge potential to bring to the development and the great future of China. But if we don't decide to use that talent, we are missing out on this opportunity. We also need to think about the next generation of the Chinese citizens, girls and boys, who are looking up to us, adults, to decide what they will do, what they will pursue in future. And if we don't give them that hope, we are failing as a country, as a society, because we are going to lose out in future.